Welcome to Crypto Disrupted. I'm your host, Trent Lipinski. I am here with Aigo.ai, and I'm here with Peter and Srini, and they're going to talk about what they're working on in the artificial intelligence space, the personal artificial intelligence space, and they're going to kind of go into that. But first, I'm going to let Peter introduce himself.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Trent. I'm Peter Voss. I'm founder, CEO, and chief scientist for Aigo.ai. And yeah, I actually have quite a long history of building companies and building technology. One of my first companies was an ERP or accounting software company that grew very rapidly from 0 to 400 people. And we did an IPO, and that was a lot of fun. I'd like to do that again. But for the last 15 plus years or so, I've actually focused on intelligence and how we can build intelligent systems. One of the things that struck me in working with software is just how stupid and brittle software is sort of inherently. And I say that even while I was very proud of my own software, but still, whatever the programmer doesn't think of, it just won't do. There's no common sense. So I spent about 5 years just studying intelligence and various aspects of it, trying to understand how can we build software that actually can learn and understand and reason and have common sense. And I looked at all aspects of intelligence, really starting from philosophy, epistemology. What is reality? How do we know anything? How can we be certain? And how do we measure intelligence? What are IQ tests any good? How do children learn? How does our intelligence differ from animal intelligence? And of course, also understanding what else had been done in the field of AI over the last 50 years. So the culmination of spending 5 years on doing this, I came up with a design of how to build artificial intelligence that can think and learn and reason. And in 2001, I started my first company, AI company, in the first few years, we were in pure research mode. And then in 2009, we launched a company based on the technology that we developed to automate call centers much more intelligently. I know when I talk to most people and they have the experience of calling a company and talking to a robot, they absolutely hate these things.
Yeah.
So, our company has companies called SmartAction.ai. Has a much better experience. You can actually speak to it in natural language, it can understand you and so on. And that company, we have some great customers, AAA Roadside Assistant, MGM Hotels use it, Carnival Cruises, Hyundai, and so on. So it gives a much better experience. However, even as exciting as SmartAction was, I felt we wanted to move beyond these sort of fairly narrow, well-defined conversations that you have in customer support. And so 5 years ago, I launched my second generation company, Aigo.ai, to take this technology to the next level so that it could have much more complex conversations, become much more personalized and so on. And so that's what we've been busy with, a team of 10 to 12 people in Aigo.ai to move the technology forward. And we are now ready to commercialize it and have the world benefit from our new Aigo intelligence. I'm sure we'll talk more about that in a moment.
Awesome. And Srini, can you give us a little of your background and why you started working on this project? And I know, unfortunately, for people watching us on video, we weren't able to get your camera to work, but I wanted to still have you on the episode and be able to provide your value.
Sure. Thank you, Trent. So I joined Aigo a year ago, and I joined as the co-founder and chief value officer to commercialize Aigo. So when I met Peter, I was in a different place. I come with a very strong data analytics background and built a company around it that grew exponentially very quickly in the enterprise space. I've worked with close to 100 of the Fortune 500 companies very closely, building a lot of analytical centers of excellence and helping them treat their data as an asset and driving insights out of it. I exited my company in 2015, published a book, Growth Confidential, on exponential growth strategies, and worked as an advisor for half a dozen technology companies. And in the journey, I ended up meeting Peter. I was completely blown away. My first meeting with Peter was meant for 1 hour. It went for 4 hours long, and a number of meetings after that. I loved I loved who Peter is to start with. The courage to change the world with a devotion that's there for the last 20 years. It is something that I've not seen with an individual. That struck me, very deeply. And the fact that the team that he had put together, and the mission that he's on, I just fell in love with the entire setup. And I could not see doing anything else except this. So I literally dropped. I had an opportunity to run a $2 billion company, and there were two of them, and then advisory roles. I basically dropped everything and joined Peter on this mission to put IGO for every consumer and every enterprise out there. Because when we say IGO is light years ahead of any of the chatbots out there, we truly mean it, and I've seen it personally, and the capabilities, because the underlying architecture is so vastly different from anything else out there. It allows us to continue to grow our IQ. So I'm glad our paths crossed. And we are diligently looking at the market, looking at the customers, looking at different ways. And the blockchain has been a blessing for us. It expedited our business plan significantly. So I'm excited about the possibilities, excited about going to consumer market through blockchain, and excited about working with this team. And thank you for this opportunity, Trent.
Yeah, no, thank you both for coming on the show. And I'd love to really, go into, so how do you see artificial intelligence and the blockchain kind of coming together for your project? What does that mean for you guys?
Sure. So first of all, I think let me talk a little bit about artificial intelligence on what that means. It's a very broad term. Now, the last 5 or 6 years, artificial intelligence has really been taken over by big data, what's called machine learning, deep learning. It's basically large companies, like Google and Amazon and Netflix and so on, have accumulated such a lot of data from their customers, and just generally from sensors and whatever, that they can now apply their massive computing power that they have, their computing farms, to extract patterns. And they basically have pattern matching, very powerful pattern matching programs that can, for example, improve speech recognition and image recognition, and importantly for them, sentiment analysis, saying, does somebody like this product? Or if they like this product, are they going to like some other product? So very much focused on marketing and, pushing more stuff down your throat.
Yeah, relevancy. That's what a lot of the AI is used for, is trying to show relevancy to, one thing for another, an affinity between selecting of, Netflix, for example, like, if you watch this movie, you might like that movie.
Right. And, obviously a lot of the stuff is really, really good, that it gives you the relevant stuff, but then it's also sort of this advertising being pushed down your throat and data potentially being abused, but I'm sure we'll talk about that later. I just wanted to the landscape of artificial intelligence is most people, almost everybody, is working on these statistical systems, these big data systems that really tell you, on average, if a person says this or does this, what are they likely to do or say next? Now, our approach, though, that's not really intelligence. I mean, when you want to have an intelligent conversation with somebody, you expect the person not just to say, well, on average, what would the answer be? You have to take the individual into account, what they're saying. You have to listen to them, learn, absorb what they're saying, understand it, reason about it. So you need memory. You need to actually remember what the previous sentence was or what the conversation is about. You need to take context into account. Why are you having the conversation? What are they trying to achieve? What do they already know? And all of that. And that's a very different kind of AI. In fact, the term we coined in 2001, three of us, was AGI, artificial general intelligence, to kind of bring it back to, instead of narrow intelligence, solving one problem at a time, like playing chess, or recognizing cats in a video. That you have general intelligence that basically can learn different aspects of life and that can learn interactively. And that's what we've been focusing on is artificial general intelligence in the area of conversation, so that you can have a conversational agent that really learns from the interaction. What you say, it remembers, it learns, it integrates and uses that information. Now, in terms of how our type of AI fits into the blockchain, as Srini was saying, it's sort of really fortunate that blockchain has exploded onto the scene. Is there are a couple of things, and actually I'll go into the different use cases for our IGO token ecosystem. Is the first one is we want people to actually own their personal assistant. So unlike traditional chatbots now, like Siri, Alexa, Google Plus, and so on, the big corporations own them. And you don't have any control over what they do with it, how they change them or whatever, and you don't have any control of their data. They are there to serve their agenda, the big corporation's agenda, not your agenda. So that's one thing we can change with the blockchain. Our personal assistant, we call it a personal assistant, is because it belongs to you. So every instance of personal assistant stays with you. It has a serial number, and that serial number is securely recorded, encoded in the blockchain. That's one of the fantastic things about blockchain, is that it's a shared ledger that you can't fudge. So once you record the serial number on the blockchain, that's it. You can track that and secure. So your ownership of the personal assistant with all of your data is recorded on the blockchain. So that makes people much more comfortable that they actually own the personal assistant and the data that goes with it. The second aspect of where the blockchain helps is we are building a community of people who have expertise in different areas that they can teach IGO. So if you're good at stress management or meditation or something, that it's a skill that you have that you want to share with other people, you can teach IGO those skills and then sell them in our store. And the blockchain allows what's called smart contract to automatically do micropayments, basically pay royalties to the people who contribute. So the users on the one hand will pay small amounts of money to the creators of those additional skills. So we're creating some skills that we as a company are providing, but obviously we don't have expertise in every area, and we couldn't possibly have that. So we building this ecosystem, this community of people who have expertise that they can teach IGO and then trade on the store. So the smart contract royalty payment is the sort of second great thing that we can do with the blockchain that you couldn't really do very easily before. And then the third one is the economy itself, that basically you're creating your own currency essentially with the IGO token, with the blockchain economy, where you have a fixed number of tokens, and then as more and more people use the tokens, basically buy things in the store, produce new skills, there's more and more demand for these tokens. So everybody in the community will benefit from that, with the tokens increasing in value. So you're building a community that really has an incentive to work together and to collaborate. So it's really a fantastic thing to have our AGI type personal assistant married to the blockchain that gives the people ownership, privacy control, and basically benefiting economically.
So let me get this straight. So you can actually train your individual, private, personal AI. And if you train it with something of value, you can decide, hey, I've trained this AI to do, this, to understand a specific task, or it understands, a certain set of knowledge. And then you can then take that portion of the AI that you've trained and then sell it in a marketplace. Right. So that AI can now generate income potentially and handle microtransactions. And so now by actually teaching the AI something of value, it can now create value for others, and then in turn create value for the person who trained it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And, you know, unlike other AI projects where you need to be a programmer to do any of these things, with Aigo, because Aigo has such high-level natural language capabilities, most of the training, if not all of the training, is done through natural language. Now, if you need to connect it to some, you know, device or something, there may be a little bit of programming involved, but that's where we can also help. But most of that training is, you know, is exactly done in natural language. So if you, you know, third grade math teacher or something, you know, you want to have that as a skill, or I mean, any number of things you could think of that you could realistically teach through a conversational agent. You can build those skills and then benefit from it. Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what's, you know, what are the, so I kind of like to touch on the privacy implications of this. So, you know, a lot of the tech companies in Silicon Valley, you know, have been collecting everyone's data. You know, there's been data leaks. These companies keep getting hacked. You know, the intention for the data and what they're doing with the data, for example, Amazon, you know, they're just using it to push more products at you. You know, they're using it to essentially study and turn the people who own these devices, you know, basically turn them into the product. So you're kind of flipping that paradigm where you're now taking, you know, anything that you teach the AI, that potentially becomes the product now. And then the person who gets to benefit from it is the person who actually taught the AI this. And then anything that you don't want in the marketplace is completely private. So any function that the AI is serving for you on a personal level, you know, and anything it knows about possibly your personal life or personal data, you can keep that separate from the marketplace, correct?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yes. I mean, as you said, the phrase of "you are the product" was, you know, with these other things, you may not have to pay for using them, but you're selling your soul, you know,
Yeah.
in the process. And, you know, and they're all fragmented. They don't really get to know you in any significant way. But yes, from a privacy as an absolute philosophy of our company is we will not sell or share your data. Your data belongs to you, and you decide what you want to share with whom. You know, some of the things you may want to share with your spouse, others with your family, others with your office, some things you don't want to share with anyone at all. I mean, potentially you could even sell some of your data, you know, to the big corporations that obviously are willing to do that. So, but yes, you control it. I don't know, Srini, if you wanted to add something to that.
Yeah, sure. So you know, one of the common questions I get asked is, "What's the moat? What's your business moat?" Right? And the way, you know, I respond to that is our business model and business moat are the same. It's all about offering highly intelligent, hyper personal. The more personalized this assistant is, it has your agenda, your goals, and your needs in mind. We believe that is enough for you to adapt to our assistant versus you giving away your privacy, you know, chipping away at your privacy every step of the way, right? So that's our business model. Our business model is you, which means as long as the assistant learns more about you, it serves you, whether it is your shopping assistant, teaching assistant, search assistant, surfing assistant, any of these activities that you do on a day-to-day basis, Aigo is there for you every step of the way, right? That's one. The second thing I want to add is, you know, the create portion of Aigo is fascinating. The use and create and trade intelligence, which is our tagline. The create portion is basically, think of it, Trent, as an asset that you have, very similar to Uber model. You have an asset, and the asset is your skill. Now we are giving you a way to monetize your asset, which is your skill, and put it out there so anyone that wants this skill can purchase it. And this is the specialized skill that you have created, that you have ownership on blockchain, and anyone can purchase it. So all of a sudden, you know, every math teacher out there, any stand-up comedian out there, any stress management therapist out there, all of them have the ability to monetize their skills, you know, without you know, being there, you know, physically. So that's the kind of the Uber model for the create portion of the technology.
Awesome. And I mean, the implications go above and beyond that, because I mean, any teacher obviously, you know, could teach these models, but I mean, I could see implications for this in business, you know, business development, sales, negotiation, marketing. You know, there's a wide range of business use cases where you could apply, different knowledge, skill sets, different processes. I mean, ultimately, most business is just a set of processes. So it's processes, and then negotiation and sales is just a set of agreements, essentially. So you could essentially have, you could. I mean, I could see the potential for a lot of subsets of data for different business use cases as well. So what are kind of the business use cases for this technology, actually, since kind of bringing that up?
Right. So within the Igo ecosystem, the kind of things that you've mentioned, if you want to start a company and you want to learn about, well, what's involved, what are the different types of companies, or what advice, what do I need? Somebody could, or several people will develop these skills to help coach you through that. And then you'll be talking to Igo, and Igo will answer those questions, but it will be a personalized experience. So I think a lot of the business applications will be within the Igo ecosystem, like helping individuals with their horrors of horrors tax returns or something, or if they're self-employed with QuickBooks or something, they could be basically QuickBooks skill that can really help you navigate that, or help you learn how to use it and so on. So there are a whole range of applications, business applications from the individual. We do, however, also have very strong interest in applications directly from the enterprise, where the Igo intelligence engine will become part of some software system or some robot, or used internally in the company to help their business processes. Many applications are in that realm. In fact, both Srini and myself, have a very strong background, of course, in enterprise applications. So that is sort of a separate track that we're also using Igo for and developing it for. But a real excitement is this community of users and creators and traders of Igo intelligence within the Igo token ecosystem.
And so what can Igo itself, can it actually do things for you? So for example, can I give it, can I give it an instruction and then it goes and, does that? And so now I just have a conversation with Igo, and now I don't need to necessarily get on my computer and create that spreadsheet. If it has all the data and everything it needs to be able to compile something like that, and it's been trained to be able to do that, can it?
Right.
So what kind of processes, what can it do for the user in terms of, reducing computer usage, or, interact with other systems, understand APIs and that kind of thing?
Right. Yeah, very, very good question. So actually, just sort of to calibrate expectations a little bit as well, we're not at human level AI yet, not a lot of people are pretty intimidated or scared by that concept. But that's a whole nother discussion, where we think it's going to be a really positive thing for various reasons. But no, we're quite a way away from human level capabilities. So the way we normally talk about it is, illustrated is, if the current chatbots have an IQ of 10, we believe we're at 25. So still a long way from human level intelligence. Now, we are providing certain core functionality that comes with it: how to hold a conversation, how to answer questions, how to do calendars, how to do reminders, how to, and that repertoire of core functionality keeps growing. I mean, we have a, sizable development team, and we, have plans to expand that actually significantly. So the core competency of Igo will keep growing from the work that we do as a development team. But then, this whole ecosystem of other creators of skills. So all of the things you've mentioned, it's basically a question: have we already taught Igo those skills, or has somebody else taught them? So those capabilities will keep growing. I mean, a simple baseline kind of thing that people expect nowadays would be to tell Igo, call me Uber. It's one of the things we're working on right now. It's not a big project, but it's just sort of, oh yeah, we've got to do that as well. Teach Igo how to interact with the Uber APIs, to interface, with Uber. So that's a relatively simple kind of thing to do. And so the repertoire of these skills will keep growing. And the beauty of the community is that we will have the community tell us what they think is most important. You know, as the community grows, we don't know whether the community will grow more into sort of self-help type of people, business type of people, or crypto traders, or people interested in crypto. That might be a very logical thing. We will see basically where the most demand is, and then try and promote, get more resources in from other people developing things. But we see basically our ambition is that Aigo will do all of the things that we can imagine that can be reasonably automated, and they'll be limited by the level of intelligence. It's ever increasing. You know, we already know how we can go from 25 to 30 to 35 IQ. We have a long list of things. We need more people on the team basically to do that. So, you know, it will be limited by how many people have added skills to it and what the sort of IQ is of how complex a problem Aigo can handle at any one time. But all of these things will keep improving. And the early adopters in the Aigo ecosystem will actually benefit significantly, because as the Aigo token, as the usage increases, they'll pretty much get the service for free. You know, I mean, we also obviously will be focused on a freemium model that early adopters will get a lot of capabilities for free to really help build that community, to reward them for helping, you know, improve the technology and spread the word.
And so where are you at right now as a business? Have you raised funding? Are you looking to raise funding? Are you doing an ICO? I know you've mentioned your token several times. You know, what does the token economics kind of look like? Can you kind of go into where you're at and where you're looking to be in the future?
Sure, absolutely. So, you know, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have the commercial company SmartAction.ai, which is the first generation of our technology, and that's, you know, it's a 100-person company. It's well established. So that's chugging along, you know, with the technology already fully commercialized very successfully. But we are now in the process. Our current company is basically a development company just at the threshold of commercializing the second generation. And yes, we've already raised, you know, quite a few $1 million to enter this new phase. And but we are also doing a token sale. So we have already launched our pre-sale. So we're doing a token sale so that people can participate in that whole token economy and, you know, benefit from that.
This is a utility token, correct?
Yes, absolutely. It's a utility. There's certainly utility.
Yeah.
A lot of utility involved. Yes, the regulators are kind of having a problem getting their heads around that, but it's really, it's not a currency, and it's certainly not a security, you know, by itself, but it's still treated as a security. So yes, you have to jump through all of these hoops in America that the actual purchase of the utility token is regarded as a securities transaction, but the token itself is a security. And there's some good noises coming out now that I think they're beginning they're just getting to the point where they're starting to make noises about, oh yeah, there is such a thing as a utility token, and we need to actually recognize it. So I don't know what you've heard at the conferences and so on. But
the SEC officially ruled that Ethereum and Bitcoin are not securities.
Right.
So that's where we're at right now in terms of definition. So they're not securities. We have yet to really define what they are, but we've at least established that they're not securities. So I guess that's a step in some direction.
Yeah, I believe there was an announcement yesterday or last Friday or something where they actually used the word utility token, that they have to find some way of bringing that into the system. That'll be awesome. Yeah.
And Srini, can you kind of go into what's happening right now with the commercialization of kind of this next generation AI that you guys have been working on?
Absolutely. So one of the reasons for the groundbreaking nature of Aigo, I believe, is a philosophical difference underlying, right? So Aigo is based on cognitive architecture, which is a derivation of human cognition. When I look at a number of large companies that are attempting to do something similar to us, they are either using machine learning, deep learning that Peter covered already, or some of them that are trying to do similar things are actually following human behavior. And this is through social media, Twitter, and all of these different channels. And very quickly, within a couple of days, these artificial intelligence systems trained, they're becoming very bad and negative. And this is where AI could be negative comes from, because they're mimicking human behavior on the social media. But this is the revelation that I believe Peter had 20 years back. You can only produce good, ethical, helpful, and with a helpful AI with a fountain of rationality. 20 years back, he discovered cognition is the right way to go about it. Cognitive architecture is the right architecture. And he continued building on that theory and produced products that are already successfully commercialized. And that is fundamental difference, I believe, is going to help us. Now, working with Peter on the enterprise side, which is where we started, and then around last November is when we said blockchain is coming on very strongly, and we want to be that early adopters, taking AI onto the blockchain. But until then, we were working with a number of large companies, and they were thrilled with the proof of concepts and prototypes that we have shown using their data and their systems, and their comments were, we didn't think something like this would be possible until 10 years from now. And they saw it, right? So enterprise market is hungry, it's ready to move right now, and consumer market is even more hungrier to protect their data and to have an assistant that finally cares about them, right? And that's what we are excited about. So we are ready. We are ready. As soon as funding round is done, we will be the heads down commercializing this for consumers and for enterprises.
Awesome. And so where, in terms of product, is this right now, is this software you have to download? Is this an app? What does it look like for a consumer?
Good question. So the personal assistant can really be used on an app. It can be used on any of the chat channels. It could also be used via something like a home speaker system, like Google Speaker or
Alexa.
where you basically have the microphone and then you need speech recognition, and that's the interface. I mean, we see this being with you, available to you wherever you are, whether it's integrated in your car or the phone, or built into your computer, that you're talking to your computer, that it's always available to you. So we kind of hardware agnostic, or even delivery channel agnostic. In the enterprise, we can provide it on premise if they prefer to have it behind their own firewall, if it becomes part of their product. But for the consumer, it obviously makes sense to have it in the cloud so that it's available everywhere. If you lose your phone or your speaker or whatever, you don't lose all of your information. And we are basically, we haven't yet launched it. We are basically waiting for our funding to close, that we can gear up our engineering team and put it out there in the cloud. At the moment, we have it available for people to use sort of privately, that we show them. But yeah, it's available on a computer, an app, or any of the chats.
Okay, awesome. And so so right now you're really trying to focus on kind of closing that funding round, it sounds like, so you can expand your engineering team. And then what are your next challenges? What's your next step from there?
I mean, we basically are so looking forward to getting this into the hands of users. So as soon as we're done with our fundraising, within 3 months, we will have this in the hands of our first round of users, and the feedback we'll get will then make the system more robust and scale it up. So we see ourselves rolling this out to the general public, in 6 to 8 months from finishing our funding. And the challenges that we have are really engineering challenges. That's what we love to grapple with. We know a lot of the things of what we need to do. So we're definitely not an R&D company. there's not that much research that we're doing. It's much more development because we've already spent so many years in research. So there are a lot of things that we know what we need to do. We just need more people to do it, you know, to add skills, to add knowledge, and to just keep improving the intelligence of the system. So lots of specific challenges that are facing us on the technical side, but you know, we look forward to working on having IGO out there in the world and constantly improving.
And on the more philosophical side, what are some of the challenges and possible, you know, can you kind of like speak about, you know, what you're seeing in the AI space, what you're seeing in the big data space on kind of the negative side of things? Like, are there legitimate fears there that some people, you know, when they talk about or think about artificial intelligence, you know, is there some legitimacy to those concerns, or what's kind of your perspective? Because it sounds like you've got a very, you know, you're working on a well-intentioned product here, and you know, you're working on well-intentioned intelligence here, really.
Right.
And you know, what, you know, is there? Can you kind of touch on, you know, what your thoughts are on, you know, where AI is going, and you know, how, if not handled, you know, considerately, it could be used potentially the wrong way?
Yes, absolutely. And I love talking about this and thinking about it and discussing it. You know, we'll obviously have limited time to go into detail. I actually have quite a few articles published on medium.com, Peter Voss, where I talk about the risks of AI and how we can mitigate them and what intelligence is and all the positive aspects of AI. So just briefly to talk about it, the risks that we have of currently big data, and that I think privacy is a big issue that people are concerned about, that they don't have control of that, and they don't have control over their chatbots or personal assistants or the data that it has. So and then what Srini was touching on, how this can be in social media, how this can be sort of a self-reinforcing bad kind of thing. You know, we have bad trends where bad news make the headlines, you know, and this can be quite negative kind of sentiment. And we see a truly intelligent system that is intelligent and can discern, you know, fake news from real news, that can discern bad arguments or emotional responses and kind of help you. I always think of that always having like an little angel on your shoulder, you know, can say, well, you know, maybe you want to take a time out here, you know, and think about this a bit more thoroughly, or this piece of news really, you know, there's a different angle to it, you know, or whatever. But as IGO gets, or any intelligent system, any AI system that becomes intelligent, will actually help us improve our lives. You know, because an AI doesn't have those emotional triggers that we as humans have. You know, it doesn't have the ego get in the way. It has a much better memory. I mean, we tend to make up stuff and confabulate things, you know, which helped us maybe in our evolutionary environment, but it, you know, in this sort of complex environment that we have now, we're very prone to sort of fall into some cognitive fallacies, you know, logical fallacies and blind spots that we have. And I think an AI that we can trust and that knows us and can actually help us live much better lives. So I see it as a tremendously positive thing, and I look forward to having my IGO get smarter and smarter and give me good advice going forward. And I think it'll help everyone.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see the benefits of this, especially on the healthcare front. You know, being able to have an AI that's fully trained on, you know, what is and isn't a good idea for health, that has access to that data, and, you know, as you said, doesn't have that emotional response. So, you know, they can kind of analyze, look at the situation and provide another perspective, which is often missing, you know, when you're doing your own research, when you're having conversations with other people, when you're investigating certain things. You know, there's so much fake news bias and, you know, emotion and illogical thinking and irrational thinking behind it. The internet, unfortunately, has just kind of become this mess of, you know, of all of this data, and it's hard to make sense of it. So I definitely see the benefit to having a system that, can learn intelligently, how to look at things, and then also how to look at how that benefits the user of those, of this data. And that, its core intention is to actually help the person that it's working with. And then I think the element of privacy is critical to that. Being able to have, that element of privacy with your AI bot, in this case, that allows you to be able to have a deeper relationship, and it allows you to be able to share knowledge and data, in a different way. That's, you're not afraid of saying something in front of your AI now, because that it's going to take that information and keep it private, and you're in control of if it shares it or not. Which with the current systems that we have today, that is not the case. So I definitely see the benefit of having a system where you're in control of the data, ultimately, even if your AI bot is collecting all of that data on your behalf. You're at least, there's a barrier now, there's a wall that you control, that you don't have to allow other, that isn't feeding that data necessarily into a major corporation or government or whoever. So I definitely see the use case for that, see the benefit of that, and I definitely see how the blockchain kind of serves as that record, that immutable record of, this is where the data is stored, and this is where, this information that you've collected is being protected and kept private.
Mm-hmm. Great. Absolutely. You summed it up nicely, Trent. I look at Peter as the unique business visionary that's going to leave a profound impact on the world with IGO. And we have the best possible team on the planet working with us. And we are excited about the possibilities, and we can't wait to take IGO to the market. So I would encourage anyone and everyone to join us on our mission to change the world with IGO. And certainly visit our website, igo.ai and igotoken.ai, to read more about on the development roadmap. There are quite a few questions on the roadmap. Certainly look at our roadmap on our white paper, and feel free to reach out to us through our website.
Awesome. Any final thoughts from either of you before we wrap up?
We're just super excited to, after so many years of developing and improving the technology, that we now on the threshold of being able to use this core technology in such a beneficial way, and building a community of people who have control over their own lives in a much bigger way, of their data, and having AI really used for their personal benefit and not some corporation's agenda. So we're super excited about that, and we can't wait to get out there and spread the word that no, you don't have to, have some crappy chatbot basically that the corporation owns, that you have to work through. That you could actually have something intelligent that you own and control, and that's really helpful and gets better over time. So exciting times.
Yeah, no, this is incredibly powerful stuff, and it's exciting to see, artificial intelligence and the blockchain coming together to be able to create solutions that, weren't, this stuff wasn't possible just 5-10 years ago. So obviously, you worked on the early generation of these technologies, but now we're kind of on a new cusp of, and a new emerging front of, what AI is capable of, what blockchain and distributed networks are capable of. And, this is definitely the start of something new.
Great. We agree. We believe in it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, both of you, for coming on the show. This was amazing. And I hope the audience, got to learn about where AI is, and, what's coming here, and, what you're working on. And, I'm excited to give it a try once it's available.
All right. Well, get your early serial number. At my.igo.ai, you can secure a low serial number, and then you have bragging rights when we have millions of users, and you have serial number 3023 or something.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to go do that.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you both for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. And, this is an amazing project, guys.
Great.
Great.
Well, thanks.
Trent, thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.